Hello, and welcome to the latest installment of Art Conspiracy. I am Amy, and I'm coming to you from Chiang Mai, Thailand. I'm in the north of Thailand, and we are in the midst of another lockdown of sorts. It's not the full-on lockdown, but it's our numbers are going up, and we're all. It's not good. It's not good. Anyway, I just want to say, damn you, COVID. Okay, got that out of my system. Yeah. Okay, we're going to get through this. And one of the ways we're going to get through it, one of the ways I'm going to get through it is I'm going to keep on painting. I'm going to keep on teaching. I'm going to keep on doing the thing that is positive for me and that brings me joy. And that is also making this video for you. So I hope you like it. I have a kind of a fun subject today. I think it's fun. I don't know where I come up with these things sometimes, but anyway, here it is. I'll show you. Let's jump in. Thanks for being here. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Okay. Okie dokie. Here we go. This is an ice hut. Now, I guess I kind of knew that people had this kind of thing where they go ice fishing and they put a hut on the frozen lake and they make an ice hut. But anyway, it's not something I think about very often, but I came across some pictures of these ice huts. And I think this is just cool. And anyway, so I'm going to paint this. And one of the challenges for me is that it really lacks color. There's very, very little color. And the longer you look, the more color you see. There's like some little red accents here, and there's this orange panel. And if you look over here, look how blue these trees are compared to like this, which is more gray. Anyway, I can sort of enhance the color, but I think partly the fun thing about the challenge for me is to make something with very little color, because I usually use, I think, some pretty, contrasting colors. I might make the sky blue, which would be a huge area of color. I haven't quite decided yet. But anyway, the other thing that I really like about this, which is pretty subtle, but this line, this hard line that cuts across the hut, runs right over into the horizon line on the right-hand side. I think that's kind of cool. It's like a tangent. They call it a tangent, where these two lines sort of inadvertently line up. And sometimes more often than not, you avoid that in a work of art, but it also can make things look very abstract and a little off, because normally things don't line up quite like that. So anyway, I thought it was interesting. And the other thing that I really like is all this great texture in this building, but it's very hard edged. It's almost like cut out in the landscape. So I'm going to make the background really soft and, very little color. This is going to be more intense, and I'm probably going to use a ruler to do some of these perfectly straight lines, which I think is kind of cool about it. And then you got the wabi-sabi wonky chimney coming out here, which is kind of neat. So, and it's a little bit of an angle. I think it's really good sometimes when you pick a subject that you want to paint, ask yourself, like, what is it about it that attracted to me to it? Like, why do I like it? And then make the artwork about that thing that you really like. And like I said, I like the texture and the soft, weird, crazy texture, even though it's subtle color-wise, juxtaposed with these crisp, hard edges, which is going to be kind of cool. And then the soft background. So anyway, that's my plan. Let me show you my thumbnail, which I did at the laundromat. See, I got blue, question mark. I don't know if I'm going to do the sky. Anyway, very, very simple. And you can see how I drew that line over into the horizon. And then I actually played with the idea of reversing that. That's what this little one is over here. Thinking, what if that line was on the left instead of on the right? Anyway, I think I'm going to stick with the way it is in the photograph. And the other thing that I learned about doing the thumbnail is that the building is a pretty nice golden rectangle. So if I make the border around it the same, thickness on all sides, it's sort of a rectangle, golden rectangle within a golden rectangle. And again, it just might add to the kind of abstract quality of this image. So that's what I'm going for. And I also want to say this, another reason that I really like to do a thumbnail is because I don't like to have the photograph sitting there. I'm going to stop. Go back to me. If all I'm doing is working from the photograph, it's too tempting to just start copying the photograph, and you get seduced into all this detail that you don't need and you don't want. And so personally, I think it's good to do a sketch, do a thumbnail, a simplified thumbnail from the photo, get what you want from it, and then work from the thumbnail predominantly. You can have the photo handy. You can look at it if you need to, but that's not your only source, and you're already like one step away from it. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And it's good advice too, by the way. So let me get set up to paint, and we'll get started. Here we go. Here's my paper. And I've been doing this thing lately where I do sort of a combination of I use pencil, and then where I know I'm going to have a hard line, I use some ink, but not everywhere. So I'm kind of selective about where I put my ink. So I'm going to get started. I've got my thumbnail handy, so I can work from that, and you can follow along. Okay, as usual, I am going to start with pretty light lines until I have everything where I want it. And you can see that my format is actually a little bit wider than the original photograph, the golden rectangle. Anyway, I'm going with it. I'm going to make the sides kind of equal. And then I'm going to go across the top and take that line out into the landscape. Good. And then we got a door, which is right in the middle, which also is kind of abstract. Normally you don't have things in the middle. And we've got a panel over here, which is about the same width as the door. We got this orange panel, this dark panel, and then I want this to go down a little bit, slope upward. So I try to do kind of a minimal amount of drawing and just take it away in the paint department. I'm going to do my chimney, my crooked chimney coming out. There we go. And I've got this great landscape, which I don't really need to do much to that because I want to do that in the soft paint. So I got some hinges and I got those little red accents. Okay, so what might I do with the line? First of all, I noticed that my chimney, even though it's crooked, is a little there. It gets a little bit smaller at the bottom. I like that. Okay, so I'm going to, dare I? I know this is going to be dark, so I'm not going to be afraid to make a line. There we go. Stops at the edge of the building. And I got some little doot. Just little bumpies, little irregularity. Make my line wonky, wavy, wabi-sabi. Okay. I'm going to make this. You can actually make a lighter line if you turn your pen kind of on its side a little. So I might reinforce some of this later with my ruler line. Perfectly straight, but for now, I'm just going to do a nice edge with my pen. Looking good, looking good. See, I changed my mind. That pencil line is here and my ink line is over. You always want to change your mind. Always have your first marks just sort of a guess, and then the changing makes it interesting. Okay, my dog's barking at the door, so I'm going to have to pause for a second. These two line up. We got hinges. These are important. These are little tiny accents. But that are powerful in a pretty benign environment. See that? Boop, boop, boop. Very important. Okay, let me get the dog, bring the dog in. I'll be right back. Now, before I start painting, I can definitely get rid of my pencil lines, but I don't need to get rid of all of them. I'm just going to get rid of the ones where I like seriously changed my mind. But sometimes those marks just end up playing in and becoming part of the composition, and they don't need to be erased. You don't want to clean up your artwork too much. I think that's pretty good advice. And in fact, I'm going to turn this a little bit sideways, as artists sometimes do. Doop, to make that. Okay, good. Okay, ready to paint. Now, because I'm going to make some sort of washes that are super light, and I mean the snow, I mean, you can't just leave white paper. It's white, but it's got some values. It's got some little subtle tones. So I have to make some really super subtle washes. So I need some clean pan. So I have a brand new tray. Look at this. I love it. And I actually have the names of the colors on here. You can see raw sienna, burnt sienna. So all my earth colors. But I have some nice clean trays I'm going to break in. Look at that. One tiny little puddle. So we're going to mess this one up. And I think I'm going to use, thinking about warm and cool. This is a warm little patch, that orangey patch. And I have a couple little red accents, if you remember those. So I'm going to do this mostly cool. The snow is cool, and maybe the wood is a little bit warmer. So I'm going to mix two different grays. So I'm going to use Payne's Gray and Sepia. That is my plan. I have no idea what's going to happen. Hate to break it to you, but I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I mean, I do in some ways, but in some ways I'm always, trying something new and feeling totally comfortable with that. So anyway, I'm going to spray my paints. Okay, and I'm going to mix up some color. All right. I'm excited. Okay, I got my big paintbrush, my biggest one. Okay, and I'm going in. And I might use my credit card, which is a kind of a trick I use, and I just drag the paint. And this is pretty thin. So I can just, I don't have to worry about this too much. In fact, I'm doing like a mix of warm and cool. And I'm establishing some of these edges. Which I think is important. The sort of patchwork, geometric quality to this. Just let that sink in. Yeah, good. And then, right. Just drag. Love doing this. I don't know. This creates this cool kind of texture going. Kind of make a little bit of a line. Back the other way. I'm sinking it into the paper too. Good. See that texture? That's kind of cool, right? Is going with my my theme. Get a little bit more for this puppy. Let that be darker. Might even pick up a tiny bit of black. Oh yeah. This be nice and dark down here. This to be dark on the edge. In fact, this whole thing is really dark on the edge. Look at that. Oh yeah, look what's happening. This is great. Totally great. Dark up here. And drag down. Just playing with the texture. I can let like some of those flat strokes just stay. That's what it's doing. It's like patchy plywood. Look at that. I love it. Move this pull around. Want to keep adding, moving it, but this is good. This is good. Bring up some of that. Get rid of some of that white. Again, I touch the edge of my brush down here because it makes the paint puddle. And I want it to sort of puddle in the right place. Whoop. Bring that brush up. Okay, my paper's buckling like crazy. That's okay. Get some great textures. Okay, I can probably let that set a little bit. Maybe I'll take some of this paint, bring it over here. See that? It's got killed two birds with one stone. Picked up some of that paint in that puddle, and I also moved it into my other area. There we go. Okay, good. I like it. Definitely has the feel that I'm looking for. Okay, I'm going to get into my background. Whoa! Okay, this is going to be pretty loose. And my water is dirty. I mean, I can practically use dirty water at this point, but that might be a little bit crazy. All right, so I'm going to go in here. A little bit of Payne's Gray. I'm going to just go down. I'm not going to be scared of this. And then I'm going to wipe right away. Really just barely staining the paper. Soften that a little bit. You can also take tiny bits of paint if I have some on my brush. Just let that sort of blend in there. Since it's so wet, it's gonna just kind of blur, which is what I want. Just push it around. Always dab it. Yep. Get a soft or as hard as you want. You can add some more later. It's really fun to play with that. Okay, good. And I'm going to do some more on the other side. This other side is a little bit more like little popcorn balls, the trees. I'm going to make them a little bit more substantial. Putting it down. Again, super light. Let that sit for just a second, and then I'm going to dab it with my tissue. Just going to let it chill out. And I definitely want some little darker tones here, right on the edge of that ridge. Ooh, yeah. You can just see I'm just dropping paint in. So much fun to work this way. Okay, and super, super subtle. Look how subtle those tones are. But there's variation. There's definitely variation. Same with this. I'm going to just right away just wipe off most of it, but not all of it. Just add a touch of texture. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Okay, it's looking pretty gray. So I'm going to add a little bit of my warmth. I'm going to start pretty light. And my paper is still a little bit wet. I mean, my shed. So it's still going to blend a little bit, be soft, which is what I want. Yeah, shedness. Shedness. I'm not going to do my little red accents until later. What do you think? I think I might need to do the blue sky just to really give it some color, and it's a complement to the orange. So now that this is chilled out, look at that. Just adding a little bit of texture. I don't like it. No problem. Look at this. I just put some stuff back in. Just let it sit. Might do more later. Might not. Okay, looking good. Okay, I'm going to do a really vivid blue sky. I am going to go with, let's go with this Prussian blue, which is going to be amazing. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Maybe I'll add it with another blue so it's a mix. Yeah, a little bit less intense. I don't want it to steal the show completely. Get it really wet. And I want some interaction here with the landscape, which is still wet. Pretty cool. Okay. All right, I needed something to dry a little bit before we do the accents. I'll be right back. Okay, did a few things while you were sleeping. I added a darker edge all the way around and then wet it and softened it going inward just to add more definition to the outside. I did the chimney and I put it in pretty dark with black, and then I actually took a brush, pretty dry brush, and just blotted out some of it. And it's a little tiny thing, but I think it makes a real difference. It gives it some three-dimensionality. Okay, so now I want to wait till it dries completely before I do the next step. So I am almost done. And you're here. Okay. I got the ruler and drawing some of my straight lines. Oh yeah. Perfectly straight. And I'm making it perpendicular to the edge of the paper. Shows you how wonky it is down here. So I'm going to split the difference. There we go. And I'm going to probably darken that. Okay. And using the edges of the paper, make it perpendicular. You know me, if you've been watching my videos, I don't like real straight lines, but one of the things I really like about this is the straight lines versus all this great texture inside. So it's all about contrast. It's really important to have contrasting elements. Whoa, what am I going to do about this? Again, I'm going to split the difference. See what happens. So look at that. That's okay. I can deal with that. I got to get my door. Get my door lined up. Yeah. It's pretty exciting stuff. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to actually use some marker. I have a little red dot here out on my building. I don't know what it is. Just a red dot. I know it's a little bit hard to see in the video. I have some red here. Just a little red triangle. And a little square sorts. Looks good. And, you know, I'm not crazy about my blobs over here. They're supposed to look like trees. So I might do a little bit of drawing with a soft gray marker. And try to make these have a little bit more definition. I could definitely come in with watercolor too. Just playing around. Some uneven elements. And then it looks a little bit more like trees. And I like that line. And I like this to be a little bit defined. Whoops. My phone is telling me something. I might be out of time. Dotting the I's at this point anyway. So I'm gonna sign off. All right. So good to see you. I hope you enjoyed the process. Just get in there and see what happens. Show up, okay? I'll post this. And anyway, I'm teaching a class coming up. If you're interested in taking a watercolor class, I'll put the link in the comments below. Okay, take care. Stay safe. Bye.